Hey now, welcome to Lone Star Mini Restoration. It's been a few months since I posted a video, and there's good reason for that. It's basically May through July, August is my busiest time of the year, and I just could not touch the Mini. I've been doing so many other things. However, all that's over, the weight's off my shoulders, and since that time frame, I actually, my daughter and I actually flew over to England. We went to an IMM, our first ever Mini show, first ever IMM, first ever Mini show. My daughter and I traveled all over England. Where I left off, I have over here, I don't know if you can see it behind me, but I have a new floor panel, and that's my next task. Now, before I put that in, I received the first fantastic tip was from a guy named Daniel Harding. Thank you, Daniel. He doesn't have a YouTube, not that I'm aware of, YouTube channel. However, he is showing the progress of his restoration on Facebook. So you might want to find that guy because he's got some really good information. But what he did was he made a jig to guarantee the placement of his new floor panel and as in relation to the rear subframe. I was like, man, I'm so glad I saw that. Or I think maybe Daniel may have made a comment on one of my videos, which led me to his Facebook page. And I'm so glad he did. Thank you. Because I'm going to do exactly the same. And then a few months later, another gentleman by the name of Marc Simpson was doing the exact same thing. He was replacing his floor, and he found out that his rear subframe didn't line up. Well, good thing it was in sequencing. It wasn't terrible, but when he took the shell, and I may get this wrong, but when he took the shell off his jig, everything lined up much better. So something with the jig was causing twist. Well, that's my next step. So before I cut out my floor panel and put this new floor panel that I have right here in place, this video is all about checking these rear subframe with the current position, with the fact that my shell is on a rotisserie. But before I can do that, I have got to take the rear subframe apart. I still have the suspension, the radius arms, all that on it, and it's freaking heavy. I can't lift it by myself. So I unfortunately, I didn't video the complete disassembly of my Mini. You know, I started my restoration almost 1 year ago, my videos, and I didn't start it until after I had a complete empty shell. You know, shame on me, right? My bad. So my first step is to go in there. I have the subframe in my garage, and I'm going to disassemble that first, and then I am going to put it on the shell, see if everything lines up with the shell on the rotisserie, and we'll go from there. So let's go to the shop or garage. Let's go to the garage. So also I noticed in preparation for assembling the rear subframe, I noticed that I went ahead and checked the 4 bolts where the subframe mounts, and 3 of them were clear, and I forgot that there was one when I removed it initially. One of them, as you can see here, the bolt sheared off, so I'm going to have to drill that out in addition to fixing up or taking everything off the subframe. So today is a Dr. Pepper day. It's freaking hot out here, but then again, it's hot every day out here. All right, I have never taken a radius arm and or shock rear suspension off of a subframe before. So I just took the other side off to give me a little knowledge and experience. And what I found, and it actually only took me probably 5 or 10 minutes, never having done it before. Of course, it's off the car, so it's easier, right? There's less steps that I have to do. But on the inside, this radius arm is hooked to the subframe on the inside via a 3/4 inch nut. So this one, and then out here, there's 4 1/2 inch nuts. 1, 2, and then there's let's see, 1, 2, ooh, a lot of crap in here. Anyhow, there's one here, one in here, one here, one here. So there's 4, and these are 1/2 inch. But what I learned on the other side is that this the trumpet on the rear suspension, it hooks into a flange that's on the radius arm. Because what I did was I loosened up the radius arm first and tried to pull it. Well, it wouldn't quite pull out because the trumpet was kind of hooked into it. So now I'm thinking that I should probably try to remove the trumpet first. I don't know what that's going to take because it's probably sealed to the spring, the rubber spring there. But I'm going to try to do that first before I do anything else. So move my Dr. Pepper out of the way. And I'm told, or I believe, I'm not told, but I believe when this is down like this, it takes all the tension off of the trumpet, and the trumpet should come out. It's okay, so it's loose at the bottom, but it's not at the top. So, wow. All right. All right, well, heck. Looks like I pried the whole assembly off. So yeah, I did use I used a pry bar. Now look, this rubber spring, I guess you call it that. I don't know what the proper term is, but it's still mounted to the trumpet. Yeah, I'll worry about getting that off, but it's off. So now I'm going to get the radius arm off. All right. Okay, 404. So now this bad boy should come right out with a little bit of wiggle and a little bit of shake, and voila! Look at this bad boy. It's like weightlifting. Woo, woo, dadgum. Go weightlifting. So now I imagine, oh yeah, the subframe is totally manageable. But first, Dr. Pepper, baby. Hey, Dr. Pepper was created right here in Waco, Texas, boy. It's awesome. It's actually a good drink. I don't know, do y'all have this over in England? I don't know. So before I haul the subframe over and put it up there, I went to check the bolt size that I'm going to need to attach the rear subframe to the heel board. And those nuts are all the heck rusted out. So I really couldn't determine what size. I thought it was 5/16, but I wasn't sure. So thankfully, look at this. Awesome. So I come around here and I've got my new heel board. So with the bolts. Awesome. So come over here to my handy dandy tool box, and what I did was trying out a 5/16 coarse and a 5/16 fine thread. All right, coarse thread. Oh no, don't want to booger threads, but that doesn't feel right. Fine thread. Ooh, beautiful. Yeah, that's going nicely. Okay, let me try the other one just for the heck of it. Let's try down here. Oh, beautiful. All right, so there you have it. The bolts that attach the rear subframe to the heel board are 5/16 fine thread. At least for my Mini. I can't say if that's true for all Minis. All right, before I move on, and for my own sanity, my own education, the way this works is as part of the radius arm is this little cup, if you will, and the trumpet arm slash ball joint at the bottom, this guy, his ball joint goes in, and this side goes into the subframe. You know, straightforward, not rocket science, but you can see this is where it goes. That's for my own education, by the way. So that's kind of cool. Right or wrong, I'm not sure yet. I can't tell. But I went to drill out this bolt that sheared off. And so I got a center punch to make my center mark so I could start my drill easier. And when I punched it, the whole daggum flange on the inside from, I guess, the floor panel bent inward, basically clearing up that hole. So I think what I'm going to do, since it's all rusted out and gnarly in here, I am going to just cut it off. This hole will remain, and since that's where the hole was in the rear board, I'm thinking I should be good. So for now, I'm just going to cut this guy out. Oh yeah, there it goes. Ow! All right, it's still hot, but it came out. It's hot, but it came out. So I've got a clear hole now. So now I've got 4 clean holes. Now I can check the subframe. I'm thinking this scoop here in the subframe should match the tunnel scoop in the floor panel. At least I think. Yeah, it looks like you got brackets that should be on the bottom anyways. So, and there's side 2. Voila. I don't know yet, but so far the holes are looking frickin' spot on. And if that's the case, I am tickled pink with this rotisserie. Everything in my world is girl related, tickled pink, right? I have girls all around me. All right, so I'm going to need longer bolts. The bolts that I got are too short. Okay, so here's something that maybe people in the UK may not be faced with. I don't know. I had to leave earlier. Once I figured out it looks like the bolts were lining up, I had to leave earlier to go pick up my girls and my wife because I had my wife's car today detailing it out. And from the time that the hottest part of our day is between 4 and 6. So between the time I left to get my wife and then go to the school to pick up my girls and I get back, this metal was too hot to touch. So yeah, I mean, you can't touch it. Of course, I could have gloves and work outside. So what I've done, and so I'm thinking maybe people in the UK aren't, you're not faced with that, having metal that's too hot to touch just from being out in the sun. So what I've done is I pulled the rotisserie and the shell into the shop, and I've already lined up the far side bolts. I did have 5/16 in my set, but I only had 3-inch long, and I think that's a bit long. However, it'll work for now. I think I need 2.5, 2.5 to 2 3/4, I think. But I had 3, so 3 inch, and again, these are 5/16 by, are fine thread. They're 5/16 fine thread, and I think they should be like 2.5 inches, but it looks like it's lining up beautifully. So, of course, the top one is just going to go through because I cut out the bolt. So that's, okay. But that, you can see that one went right in. Yeah, it looks like it's spot on. So I'm not worried about if these threads get boogered up because that heel board's coming out. all new heel board with all new nuts. This will be temporary fix, and the bolts will probably be fine. All right, so I won't put it all the way in because it only has so much of a shank on it. But something went right? I know there's going to be plenty of opportunity where things don't go right. However, in this particular case, something did go right in the installation of the subframe relative to the heel board. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go further, and I'm going to attach, I don't know if it can be seen here. Let me turn the camera just a tad. I'm going to attach these two bolts down through the floor and the boot, and I'm going to make this a permanent part of my shell now. I'm going to leave it. Rather than me making a jig, I do have enough steel that I can make a jig, and actually I could practice my welding. You know what? I'm just going to use a subframe as my jig, right? I don't know. I may have to remove it temporarily to cut away the heel board. I'm not sure. But for now, I'm going to bolt the whole subframe down and use it as my jig for my new floor panel. So I think that pretty much wraps it up here. Let me see. Hold on. Let me get this right. All right. So that pretty much wraps it up on this episode. All I wanted to do was make sure that my subframe, because the shell I've put on the rotisserie, I've taken it off the rotisserie, probably, no joke, probably 24 times trying to get the rotisserie just right. I added the center beam, which I now fondly know as the Dave Jag 66 beam, and I've added cross member beams based on everybody's recommendations, whether it's Mini Tom's or Gentleman's Motor Racing Team. All these guys have offered input, and I've followed their input, and I thank you all, because right now, you know, working the jig and so that it works perfect is paid off, or at least in this particular situation is paid off, because this subframe went on beautifully. Yeah, so I think I can call this particular episode or check fit a success. So until later, I'm signing off. Thanks for watching. And again, if you have any tips, I'm always open. I'm open to education. I'm open to learning. And if I can do things better, man, I'm all for it. But this here is for my future education and memory. But hey, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for my next episode, which I'm not sure, but it may be my IMM episode. So, all right, thanks for watching. Bye just now.